speaking on the 19th Amendment.
It is customary and accurate to say that the official movement to improve the lot of American women in all departments of life began at a convention in Seneca Falls, New York in 1848. In a study entitled Two Paths to Women's Equality, Janet Zollinger Yale has identified and analyzed two important forces in the early expression of feminism. One was distinctly religious. Its advocates were affiliated with many of the Christian temperance movements who concentrated their protests against unfair treatment of women in domestic and civil areas of life. The other group was the suffragists or suffragettes who were focused on gaining the vote for women. They believed that their method of achieving it was superior. It's hardly surprising that so many champions of women's rights generally should have chosen liquor as their central target. Married women were legally pretty much at the mercy of their husbands. And because alcoholism was so prevalent in the 19th century, a legally domineering man could be even more abusive under the influence of alcohol. Though prohibition remained in temperance core values, the movement soon sought other evils to eliminate or reform. The specificity of many temperance causes led to criticism that temperance advocates were moralistic and dogmatic. They persisted nonetheless, and many of their efforts eventually resulted in legislation. Yale's Two Paths recognizes the impressive record, which has often been overlooked, of the temperance people, or undeservedly undervalued. The temperance advocates for women's rights in the 19th century were fortunate in the general atmosphere of the times. Many Protestant denominations considered alcohol in any form a serious and a destructive social evil, a serious sin and a destructive social evil. In their strong condemnation of hard liquor, they were by no means always addressing opponents and critics of their cause. Religion was an important phenomenon in 19th century America. Tent revivals were popular. Fiery evangelists had auditors in the palms of their hands. Gospel hymns came into their own in this era. There is a sense in which the gospel hymns, were the pop music of the day. The lively tempos and emotional invitations to accept the salvation being offered ensured that the temperance campaigners for women's rights often spoke to enthusiastic audiences. It would have been unusual to find a family who didn't know such hymn titles as Blessed Assurance, or Stand Up for Jesus, or What a Friend We Have in Jesus, and scores more. Early leaders like Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Frances Willard all came from strong Protestant moral backgrounds. When the Women's Christian Temperance Union, the WCTU, was founded in November 1874, Frances Willard was chosen as corresponding secretary. The scholar Olivia Coolidge describes this office as comparable to that of Stalin in the communist hierarchy when Lenin died. In short, Miss Willard's power and influence in the WCTU were virtually absolute. Miss Willard was one of the most outstanding women in the 19th century, so this responsibility could hardly have fallen into more capable hands. Highly educated, she became the first dean of the Women's College of Northwestern University in Evanston. She later served as the president of the WCTU. Among the more colorful prohibitionists of the era was Carrie Nation, who gained notoriety by marching into saloons and with her trademark hatchet, proceeding to smash up kegs of beer. Nation was a formidable figure, 6 feet tall and armed with a hatchet. She must have inspired saloon keepers with consternation, if not fear. One does not have to look far to discover that activists in the temperance faction had many more targets than the demon rum. A list of these targets is a virtual catalog of the social and reform needs of the United States at that time. Examples include prison reform, sex trafficking, prostitution, sanitation, sweatshops, child labor, pure food and drug laws, women's working conditions, safety in workplaces like coal mines, public health, international peace, and the causes of African Americans. Reform measures like the above incurred strong, often violent opposition from many quarters. Upper class women who didn't have a dog in the fight felt that it threatened their privileged position. Southerners disapproved of any attempt to help African Americans in the quest for full citizenship. Brewers would have been expected to fight against such an arch enemy as prohibition. Big city machine politicians feared they could not control women voters because of their opposition to corruption in government and their overall propensity to reform. Many government agencies almost surely trace their origins to the effects of temperance workers to alleviate and eliminate the woes that beset the needy in American communities. These activities seem never to have provoked violent responses. The same cannot be said of the suffragists. When they staged a parade on Pennsylvania Avenue the day before Woodrow Wilson's inauguration, a riot ensued. Thugs and similar types of rowdies attacked the marchers, cursing them and shouting obscenities at them, spitting on them, slapping them in the face, and throwing burning cigar stubs on them. Soldiers from Fort Knox finally put a stop to the mayhem. Apparently, the sorry spectacle was never repeated. Finally, the day came when the combined paths of the major factions seeking the vote for women and calling for serious reforms of many kinds in the body politic converged. The faction, the group espousing prohibition and Christian morality, that is the temperance faction, and the suffragists finally rejoice. Decades had passed since that meeting in Seneca Falls, New York, in 1848. But in the last analysis, victory went to the feminists. The 19th Amendment, giving women the vote, was passed in 1920. It's difficult to exaggerate the importance of this measure, both in a moral and a political sense. And it is particularly gratifying to observe the leadership role that women continue to play daily